the
Two Girls, One Book Club. Why do I always want to say Two Girls, One Podcast?
I don't know. But you do this every time.
Do I really? Yeah. I just need everybody to know that
we are
here.
I know, but our first podcast is up. That's exciting. Lexus texted me last night. She goes, I'm listening to it right now, like right after we posted it.
Lexus.
I mean, she is 18 now, so.
Still, that's a baby in my opinion. I am 11 years older than her, so she's a baby.
I know.
But yeah, she is legally an adult, so just don't tell your mom.
This is true, because we do like to hang out around you, so.
Also, this podcast is for 18 and up. Ignore my children in the background before this
That one was more so.
I'd say super PG.
Just explicit. This
Cool.
one does have language and explicit content.
Yeah. Becca's Bookstagram. It's me, your book bestie, started following you. But like me no, it was our.
No, it's
okay, it's our this
podcast,
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some new followers on podcasts. And
Did you see that we got
TikTok?
4 or 5 new followers on TikTok? I was like, look at
Did you see how many
us.
views some of our things have?
Yes.
I don't know how many likes, but they have a lot of views.
Yes.
And I was like, this is going pretty well.
We have 39 followers now. Go follow us on TikTok. I will promote it every single time. We are Two Girls, One Book Club.
And you can find us under the same name on Instagram.
Yes. Make sure it's the right one. Ours says Ash and Raven. I put our link tree in. I made a link
perfect.
tree.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I woke up at 5:30 this morning. I was like, I can't sleep. So I'm like, I'm going to make a link tree, I guess. Like, why not?
Yeah. Honest side note, we just should say the Vegas Golden Knights, won the Stanley Cup
Oh my
last
gosh,
night.
that was the best.
And we were so excited. I told Brian, I know you don't care, but I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I was telling
Vegas
everybody at work
won.
today. And they're like, okay, we don't care about hockey. And I'm like,
goes,
we do.
Exactly. Well, he goes, I wish you were this excited about Utah football. And I was like, Brian, it's not football season. I will be this pumped when it starts in August.
Okay,
But
but
it's still
hockey
good.
season starts like 2 months later. So then you'll be back to hockey. Back to hockey.
I will be excited, and maybe I can catch a game.
The best part about them
Vegas.
winning, though, is when I was like looking at it and the one guy scored
the hat trick?
Yeah.
That was so, and everybody was throwing the hats.
Don't. I thought you just turned my. Did they? I didn't see that. I just like was on Twitter looking at the like trending so that I could just keep up.
ESPN app, and I was like, wait. And then it showed their poor goalie, and I was like, oh, not the Golden Knights goalie, the other,
Oh.
the Panthers
Was
goalie.
he sad?
Just look, I mean, he let 8 goals in, so I would be sad too.
9.
9 goals in, and I would be real
That's
sad.
a lot
That is a
too.
lot of goals.
And a hat
Really
trick, for those of you who don't know, is you have to score 3 goals like consecutively, right?
It's not consecutively, it's just in a game.
Oh, okay.
'Cause there
Well,
are other games.
still, that's
But
impressive.
it was impressive, and I went, yes. So I watched the video, and their poor goalie, you could tell he was like so upset.
Well, did you see the pictures? I don't know what Facebook group they were posted in, but it's like one of them is like the baby sitting in a Stanley Cup, and it's like baby's first Stanley Cup, and there's another one, and it's the guy's wife like with her legs like wrapped around him, like hugging him. Girl was in heels on the ice.
Girl, I would fall in sneakers on the ice.
I just look at the ice and I'd trip next to the rink.
So true. You went,
See, I am like Bella in real life, but I'm more funny.
it wouldn't even be on the stairs. It would have been like flat surface, not stepping
Stairs
over anything.
freak me out because I know I will trip.
Falling.
Like when we're at the Grizzly games, I'm like, I need to hold the railing like a 90-year-old lady because I will fall.
You will fall, but I am pumped for us to go to Grizzly games. We got to try to get some front row this year.
Yeah. Do you want to know what's funny though? Is I have ran in high heels New Year's Eve in the snow drunk and I did not fall.
Consider you were drunk.
I know.
Do you think you
I can't even walk sober in my Converses without tripping over myself. I like opened my closet so I could change out of my work shirt so I wasn't like wearing it on camera. And I like go to open my door and I like jam my hand. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
What did I do? Oh, we're at Lagoon and the bar comes down and I went to like grab it and I like hit my nail. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
It hurt so bad.
I've done that
If you
too
can
many
get up that,
times.
It's okay. I'll get cut down next week. Okay, so now we'll start talking about this book, and Ashley will just delete everything else we've ever said before then.
But it was funny.
That's funny. But I don't think that they want to listen to 22 minutes of us.
I don't care. They will.
Anyways.
This is a short book.
It is a short book. It is only, I don't know, something.
200 and
251 pages.
Okay.
And for Ashley and me, that's a short book.
Yes.
What do you consider a long book, like page-wise? Because I've read some where it's like
over 600
pages,
over 600,
but it only has like 14 chapters, so there's long chapters. So I only go by pages. I don't go by chapters.
I go by pages because like the first ACOTAR is like 400 and something pages. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Took me 4 days. And then like the Book of Azrael, 658 pages or something.
Long.
So I'd say anything over 600 pages I'd consider long. But I think the longest book I've ever read, ooh, how many pages are in Wings and Ruin? Or, that one's longer than Mist and Fury.
Yeah, that one's big. But I mean, the 7th Harry Potter one's big, too.
I need to look up page numbers now. Let's see.
So, I mean, for you and me, this one was less than 300 pages.
That's a day.
A breeze.
Yeah. That's like a day's worth of reading.
Told me it was like 3 hours to read, and that's it.
Yeah. Let's see. Wings and Ruin is 736 pages.
Yeah.
And that is a long one.
It is a long one.
So.
How long is Deathly Hallows?
That's what I'm looking up right now. I have all of these books, but I want like special edition ones so bad.
Sweet.
Like the ones that you can buy in it's 784, so it's longer.
Yeah.
But I've showed you the ones that you can buy like in your
House of Colors?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
want
both
the Slytherin ones.
You're not a Slytherin.
Well, you know what? I still want them green.
Yellow is not my color, but I am
Apparently-
a Hufflepuff, and
I'm a Hufflepuff too, because apparently I'm a coward, and I'm not smart, and I'm not cunning, and I don't lie well. So, Hufflepuff for me.
Okay, well, you can still be those things and be a Hufflepuff.
Just not smart enough to be a Ravenclaw, or courageous enough to be a Gryffindor.
Okay, listen. I am neither of those things either. But I like food and animals and cozy things and plants. And so I'm like, yeah.
And Cedric Diggory / Edward Cullen. So.
Yeah. And I do think like herbology and like divination, those would probably be my favorite classes. But I'm also like really into astrology. So I'm like.
This is true.
Yeah. So that's probably my jam.
Would be like your jam.
Yeah. And also, not transfiguration. Sorry, McGonagall. But I'm like, I'd screw that up so easily. I'd be like Ron or Seamus, and everything's just like exploding in my face. We watched it today. What do you?
I didn't work today.
Why are you asking me if I've seen Moana?
Like that, half human, half shark.
Oh, I was like, what do you mean? Have I
like
seen that?
Yeah. Shark head.
Yeah.
That would be you.
Why is it a shark? Why would I try to transfigure into a shark?
Because maybe somebody loves the bottom of the Black Lake, and you just have to go save them. So I need to breathe. Let me grow some.
I would be McGonagall and turn into a cat. That's my Patronus, is a tabby cat.
The water to save
no. Just like if I were in class. Why would I turn into a cat?
See, that's why I'm asking you.
I just meant in general. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get to the book. We've mentioned like 4 other books and we haven't even said the title to the book.
For this week is Like I Never Said by C.W. Farnsworth. This book is also my favorite read for the year.
So far.
But I've also read like 10 of her books.
Yeah.
Because she's my favorite right now.
Yeah. I need to read more of her books because I really,
so
let me
good.
tell you guys something. Okay, Raven recommended this book to me and it probably took me a month or so before I read it. Because like the first thing she's talking about a pen and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't care about a stupid pen. Why would I want to read this?
True.
But it was actually really cute and I liked it. 5 stars from the beginning. I'll tell you guys my rating. I loved it.
Yes, I loved this book, which is then why This was the first of hers I read, and then I proceeded to read a bunch of other ones. So
I've only read this one.
Well, I put like 7 of them on our list for our podcast.
What other ones?
I just kept going through it. I told you to read Six Summers to Fall.
Okay, she wrote that?
She wrote
okay,
that.
Well, that's on my thing.
That new one that I was telling you where she just came out with it this week.
Oh, right.
Where she took 2 books that she previously wrote and combined them to be into one. I read both of those. Those ones are really cute. I loved those. But she's pretty versatile. I mean, there's another one I read that you need to read. It's called Famous Last Words, also hockey. That one they're in college. And she hates him because he is her best friend's half-brother. And he hates her because...
Enemies to lovers. I'm already interested.
Yes. Well,
that's my jam.
She never... They don't talk. They don't know each other. They've never spoken. They just know of each other. So, like, his dad got his mom pregnant and then left. Like, 2 months later, got somebody else pregnant. So he and the half-brother.
Oh my gosh, that happened to me. Legitimately. They're 7 months apart, but that legit happened to me. Relatable.
So then they hate each other. She hates him because he won't give the dad and stepbrother and stuff like a chance. And he hates her because she only sees it from one side. She's never seen or understood like his side and all the abandonment stuff. So, anyway, she has a lot of good ones, so we'll probably review. But this one's my favorite. So before we get into it, let's do our top 5 reads for the year, since this is my favorite one for the year. So what are yours? We talked about it a little yesterday.
A Court of Mist and Fury, number 1. This one might be controversial. A Court of Thorns and Roses, number 2. I know we all hate Tamlin if you read the book, and if you haven't, what the heck.
But I feel like the hate for Tamlin a little bit comes more so in Mist and Fury.
Right.
So I feel like there were some parts toward the end when he was just a dick.
I just feel like people will like rate it lower after Mist and Fury, but I've read it 3 times and I still liked it.
So good.
So, and then Like I Never Said is number 3. I'd say Wings and Ruin is probably number 4. And then 5 was probably Fault Line because it gave me Like I Never Said vibes. I really liked it. Also Enemies to Lovers. So these guys aren't enemies to lovers. They're
friends to lovers.
Strangers to friends to lovers.
Yes.
It's a roller coaster.
Which was so great, though.
And this book happens over 4 summers.
Yeah. So this one is my number 1. And then it would be Mist and Fury. And then it would be Lucky Hit, which is Hannah Cohen's book. That's Oakley and Ava. And then my 4th one would probably be Her Greatest Mistake, which is their son. They told you about with his best friend. And that one I like because that one, it's kind of a mix of friends to lovers and enemies to lovers. Because it has flashbacks and they were best friends growing up. But then they have a falling out right before they go to college. So then when they meet back, he totally like hates her.
Oh.
But they have to fake date because all this other stuff with his reputation. So that's my 4th one. And then my 5th one would probably be Six Summers to Fall. That one gave me Like I Never Said vibes. And I read that one after this. And I like this. So
it'll be interesting to see what our top 10 are at the end of the year.
I know, which I'm pumped for.
I don't know if anything can knock Mist and Fury out of number 1 for me.
Mist and Fury is so good, though. It's so good.
Yeah. That's where we meet Cassian, and I love Cassian. I love Reese, but the TikTok algorithm has told me that it is not meant to be, and it's Cassian, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take him.
Well,
but he's really, he's like 6'7" or something. He's like really tall. I know, I'd be like, hi. He'd have to like pick me up. Be like Olivia and Carter.
Yes.
They always make her seem like she's like the size of a child.
Yes.
And I'm like, please stop.
Like dwarf.
He's like 6'3" or 6'4". I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
She's like, what, 5'1"?
I mean, so it is over a foot. What do you think about it?
Yeah, but Eric's almost a foot taller than I am, and I'm not like, I'm just like,
that's her. Like,
hey.
How are you up there? Is the air thin?
Yeah.
Because it's fine for
Well, he has a friend that's like 6'7", and that one I am like, hey.
Could you sit down to where eye level?
Yeah, I'd be like, you make me nervous.
Yeah. So, like I never said, this one, I will read what it is about, and then we can talk about it. Because I feel like some of these, like, summaries are pretty accurate, and then there's some that aren't.
Yeah.
pretty
And we
accurate.
can talk about some of our notes before my laptop dies and my camera dies because
Yes.
I was exporting footage.
That's okay. So it says, a lot can happen on a 2-week trip to the Canadian wilderness. Auden Harmon learns her parents' marriage is officially over. Expected. Accidentally gives a $500 pen to a stranger. Unexpected. Neither event wreaks havoc on her life quite like meeting Elliot Reed does. He has eyes the color of the cloudy sky. A slapshot the whole country has an unhealthy obsession with. The uncanny ability to say the exact right thing right when she needs to hear it. They stay in touch after she leaves, swap secrets, become best friends, tell each other everything. Well, almost everything. It's a thin line between love and hate. The line between love and friendship with a guy who makes mammoth-sized butterflies swarm in your stomach, practically transparent. But when he's made it clear friendship is all he has to offer, you can never say it.
Does she even know anything about hockey? I don't think she does.
No, she doesn't until she meets him. And she doesn't realize, like, how big he is. Also because she's from California. And so in the first chapter, her parents decide they're going to get divorced. They ship her off for a couple weeks. Like, yeah.
I thought she volunteered to go.
No, they ship her there.
Oh.
Under the guise of, like, because it's with her mom's sister. So she's staying with her aunt and her cousin. And her parents do it as, like, trying to reconnect with lost family. But then it's once she's there for a couple days, her parents call her together and say, we're getting divorced. And then it clicks for her that really she's in Canada so that she wasn't home when her dad moves out.
Ah.
Because they're getting divorced. Which she kind of talks about, like, how she's surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah.
But it only hasn't happened sooner because they've both been so busy that they haven't even been together.
Yeah.
So now they've decided to just get divorced because they don't like each other.
Which, you know, whatever. They're both just so busy too because he's a
Yeah.
lawyer and her mom's like a fashion designer. And so, I don't know. Makes sense.
It does.
But she meets Elliot in a coffee shop. But one of his friends, I don't know his name. I'm going to call him Alex.
Okay,
What is his
wrong. His name is Josh.
Oh, that's why I forgot his name. I've dated a Josh or two. And so.
Okay, absolutely.
Also, the book that I just finished reading. What book was it? Their name was Alex. Oh, it's in brain fart. What is that book I just finished? Rule number 5.
Rule number 5. Yep.
His name was
is
Alex. Okay. Well, whatever.
Yes.
Josh comes up and asks her for a pen.
Well, he doesn't really ask it. He just takes it and then goes, "Can I borrow it?"
I thought Elliot is the one that took it.
No,
Oh.
I was just rereading this
Oh,
morning.
nah. Well, Raven knows and I don't. I'm just making
she's
things
sitting
up.
There. She goes to, like, a prep school, so she's doing her summer homework. She has her headphones in. This guy comes in, grabs her pen and says, "Can I borrow this?" And this pen,
$500.
pen.
Her dad's like, here you go.
That's what they gave her for her birthday.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a crappy gift, honestly.
For like her 16th birthday, right?
Yeah, for her 16th birthday. So this kid takes it, and then there's 3 of them. There's 3 friends. It's Josh, Oliver, and Lucas, and they're all there, and they're kind of talking to her, and then Elliot walks in, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, he's so gorgeous."
Well, she thought Josh was hot first.
She did, and then
But then
walked in and was
Elliot's like-
"Goodbye to Josh."
She's like, Josh who?
Only Elliot. Only
Yeah.
lines for Elliot now. And then
But her and Josh are the ones that become friends.
Yeah, they're
like later on,
friends.
like they go on a boat together at one point.
yes, which pisses him off to no end.
I almost called him Lucas.
His name
Elliot.
is Elliot.
Elliot.
Yes.
I do like the name Lucas. That's why I changed Blake to Lucas. I'm like,
This
Sage
is
and
so
Lucas sound better.
I agree.
So I'll get to that eventually. Anyways, back to this book.
Anyway, so they meet and they kind of talk for a little bit, and then he leaves because he has to go to. They're hanging up these posters for something.
Isn't it the carnival?
Yeah, I believe so. But they put the wrong time, which is why they needed
To fix
pen.
it.
So she meets him, and then she goes back to her aunt's house. Her aunt is the photographer, so she's so busy. Her cousin's avoiding her, so she never sees her. She gets back to the house. Her cousin's there, and her cousin doesn't want to talk to her, so she ends up going for a run, and then she gets back, and and then her aunt's there, so they have dinner or whatever. Her aunt brings up the carnival, and her cousin's, whose name is Annabelle.
She's a jerk.
She is a turd, and she's like, you can't force me to hang out with her. And I was like, this is so sad. Like, your parents aren't even around you. In the beginning of the book, it mentions that she talks to her parents' secretaries more than she even talks to her. So, like, she gets shipped off to Canada to supposedly spend time with his family. Her aunt's gone. Her cousin doesn't want to be around
her. Her aunt's a photographer, and it's wedding season, so she, like, never sees her aunt.
Yeah.
There's, like, one point she comes in, and there's, like, no food. She's like, sorry.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay.
Right.
How does your own kid survive?
Maybe she's never home. We just don't know.
That's true. Her one daughter is she's something.
She's something else. So she ends up deciding to go to this carnival later because she doesn't want to be there by herself. And then Elliot's there, and he sees her. They sit together, and they just start talking. And
they sit on the dock.
Sit on the edge of the dock. Yeah.
Cute. People do that at the lakes all the time.
Well, they start talking about, like, their families or whatever. She tells him that her parents are getting divorced. She just found out, like, that morning.
Yeah.
And then he tells her, like, his dad's not around. They're not together and whatever. So they kind of talk to each other. And they just kind of bond over this. But they don't, neither of them apologize. They just are like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, sucks to suck. So they just start talking, and they're getting to know each other.
The weird thing is she's, like, every summer she goes, it seems like she's only there for, like, 4 weeks. And not, like 3 months, like, the time period of summer.
It seems like this one, I think, I mean, it talks about in this one she's there in July. So they just sent her for, like, 2 weeks in July.
Yeah.
Probably just so her dad can move out, but then she'll be back before school starts.
Yeah, because not much happens the first summer.
But then she's there longer in the second summer because she goes right after school ends.
Because his mom picks her up from the airport that time.
Uh-huh.
So, weird. I don't think a guy that I've known for like 3 seconds, I don't think I'd let... I'm not even sure if I would let Eric's mom pick me up from the airport. I would just feel so awkward. I'd be like...
I'll take a cab.
I'll be like, can I get an Uber?
Yes. So they hang out. They talk about, like, their mutual... I mean, from each point of view, they think and internalize how attractive the other person is, but they don't do anything for it. And then Elliot starts making plans with her, and she thinks he's asking her out, and he goes, no, I like you too much to date you. And that is, like...
He also doesn't do... girlfriends.
He doesn't do girlfriends because he's focused on hockey. His dad was a hockey player who abandoned him. And so he wants to be better than his dad. They hang out. They go ice skating. They do all these things that entire summer she's there. And everybody knows that he doesn't do girlfriends. So everybody's like, why are you hanging around with this girl? Why are you holding her hand? And whatever. So they're hanging out the entire time she's there. And at one point, she's talking about her friends. And she's just thinking about it. And she says that she's never had a friend that she could talk to about both the heavy and the light.
Yeah.
Until she meets Elliot. Because they talk about nothing and everything. Just their rough lives.
See, everybody needs an Elliot.
Parents. Yes.
I have one. But his name is Connor.
Yes.
He's never going to listen to this podcast. That's okay.
That's okay. That's fine.
I don't blame him. He always makes fun of me for, like, reading books.
Yes, that's okay.
So, I'm like, I know you won't listen to this. That's fine. You're not going to care about my hockey romance books. Yes. Eric said he's not going to listen either, but he'll give us 5 stars. Tell him he saw us to rate it at least. Be like, come on, be supportive.
You know what? I have his password, so I'll just log in for myself.
Smart.
So, and then they decide they're going to be best friends, and she's surprised when he tells her they're going to be friends even after the summer because she thought she would just go
But
back
you
to
have to
California.
mention the couch scene. Ellie,
That's
you
not
gotta
till the
leave.
second summer. We're
What?
still in the first summer.
I thought it happened in the first one.
No.
Oh.
So they hang out this entire summer, and then towards the end of the summer, he says, so they go canoeing and stuff, or whatever, but he says, bottom line, I find Auden attractive. I'm pretty sure she finds me attractive. That could complicate our friendship.
I hate her name.
I know, that's
Auden.
why he calls her Denny. So maybe we should just call her Denny.
Yeah, Denny. I'll take a Denny over an Auden. Pretty
So-
sure there's a character in Animal Crossing called Auden, and that's all I can picture.
So then the summer ends with him having, like, thinking she's hot. She thinks he's hot. And his friend is like, you don't want to sleep with her? And he goes, no, we're just friends. And everyone's like, no, you're not.
A liar.
So then they end up texting this whole
Year, yeah.
And she decides she's going to go visit him over the summer.
Back to Canada.
Back to Canada. And she tells her parents, like, oh, I'm going to go to spend more time
With
with
my aunt.
and my cousin. And it's
Which is
really-
her mom's sister.
Yes. But it's really... And her mom's sister is, like, the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
So before she goes to Canada the first summer, she hasn't seen them in, I think it says, like, 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Because she got pregnant with a guy, moved to Canada to follow him. He ditched her, and then she's just been chilling in Canada.
Yeah.
So... Anyway, so Elliot's little sisters tease him about having this friend because he
They
asked
call
his
him
mom.
His girlfriend.
His girlfriend. He goes, no, she's a girl that's a friend. And they're like, what?
They're like,
And
yeah,
his mom
okay.
tells him there's more to life than hockey.
And he's like, no.
And he goes, well, I have half of his DNA, so no.
Yeah,
And
his
it's
dad's like this massive hockey player,
worst.
like in NHL.
Yes.
I don't know if we mentioned that. So he doesn't want to be anything like his dad
No, so
at
he's
all.
totally trying to be the opposite. He doesn't want to have kids because he wasn't planned. He wants to be better than
Didn't his dad leave when he was like 2? Like
Yeah.
he tried, but he was like, yeah, hockey's more important than this kid.
Yeah, so he doesn't want that.
Yeah.
So he asks his mom. She says, yes, I'll go pick Auden up next week. And then he has to tell all of his friends that he's not going to like their Canadian version of prom because he's just going to be hanging out with her instead. And his
What's a Canadian? Isn't it just prom?
No.
Canadian
prom.
prom? What the heck?
Okay, anyway, so his friend's messing around with with him. So it's the second summer. She comes to hang out. She watches him do hockey. They are playing. They're hanging out and whatever. And she says, like, she doesn't trust anybody else. They totally like each other. He tells her, because all of his friends and everybody was like, oh, she's your girlfriend. And he's like, no, and whatever. So then he asks her to fake date him. So then they end up kissing a couple times during the summer. They're all, like, touchy-feely. And then at the end of the summer,
The couch
couch scene
happens.
So at this point, they both like each other. They don't want to say anything. They've kissed a couple times. And then the summer ends with them going back to her house after a party. And they're, like, laying on the couch together, whatever. And then she ends up giving him a blowjob.
Impromptu, just out of the blue.
Out of the blue, on the couch.
Well, they're like making out, and then she's like, okay. And then he
No.
leaves.
Yeah. Because her,
Her aunt comes.
home.
Oh!
Her aunt comes home.
Has anybody ever
And-
walked in on you?
No.
Oh, well, it's not fun.
That's why do you think the kid's door has a lock from the outside?
Oh, man.
Like, stay in your bed. So they.
It wasn't my kids, though.
That makes it worse.
I'll tell you off the podcast.
Yes, please do. So they end up, and then that's how the summer ends. So they both have feelings, but they don't want to talk about it. And then he wants to still, like, fake date her
Yeah.
that next summer, just for a little bit.
And this is where
then-
they have the big party, right?
Yeah. And then they sleep together.
In the boathouse.
Ooh.
And she thinks that he's this massive player.
Yes.
Turns out it was first time for both of them.
Yes.
And so she thought he didn't find her attractive. She's like, he doesn't
Yes.
want me. And he's just like, no, Denny. I too am a virgin.
Yes. So before any of that happens, they end up hanging out. It's kind of awkward between them, and then they get back to like where they were before the blowjob at the end of the summer, her second summer up there. And then they are there, but he's kind of being like a little turd to her.
Yeah.
She ends up going on this boat ride with
Alex.
with Josh, and they're talking about it. Or they're not talking about it, but they're talking about each other, and she's talking about where she's going to go to school, and he's just talking and whatever. So then they go back, and when they get back, Elliot is pissed.
Because Josh was drunk.
Yeah.
He's a massive alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
At like
he has
17.
abandonment issues.
His parents are never home. They are always having parties there.
Yes.
So.
Exactly.
But
and
then
somebody else in a different book as well.
This is the same time where she tries to like date
so she goes to try to
like hook up, kiss one of his like teammates.
Yes.
And the teammate's like, no, dude, like you're Elliot's.
Yes.
Like he kind of put a like in the deal where he like
her.
Yeah, he's like
and
nobody else.
Like nobody. So he's pissed, and then she gets mad because of this, and she goes and tells him that, or she and Annabelle finally figured out that summer. The third summer she's there. She tells her that she was mad that she didn't even want to come. She's supposed to go to San Francisco with her friend, do all these things. So then she and Annabelle become
friends.
Yeah, they become.
She's also mad because Elliot likes Denny and not her.
Yes,
she has a crush on him,
mad at it.
And he tells everybody he doesn't do girlfriends. And then here comes Denny, and he's like, just kidding.
Yeah, and then everyone thinks they're actually dating, and it's all this stuff. So then he comes, and they end up. Oh, there it is. I was in the wrong summer. So after she gives him the blowjob, she knows that Elliot has feelings for her, but isn't going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So then in the third summer, she's in love with him, and she's realized it, and she was talking, that's what she was telling Josh about on their boat ride, and then she gets off, and that guy is like, he made it clear you're off limits. She gets pissed at Eli.
My camera stopped recording again.
And Josh is like, told ya he liked you.
We'll just have to do the audio. I don't even know what it stopped filming at. Oh, well.
So then she's like so mad at him, and he's mad at her, and she's like, let's go swimming. So anyway, so then he goes to like give her a life jacket, and she ends up just like putting her hand in his shorts. And then they end up sleeping together.
That was on the boat, though, wasn't
it?
In
the boathouse.
Oh.
And he is like trying to talk to her, and she's like, "Don't! You're rejecting me." And then she tells him that he's the only person it would mean anything with. And he's like, "Nothing's changed. The draft's coming up." And she goes, "I know." And she says, "If I don't do it with you, I'll do it with someone else." And he's like, "Okay, fine."
Okay. What page are you on? Like what?
154. Okay.
Because my favorite quote out of one of the only things that I've quoted is from 159. And it's, maybe this is why people call it falling in love, because when you're falling, you can't focus on anything else. And that's from...
that too.
That's Auden. And I was like, that's so cute.
I know, because she's so in love with him. And she knows that he is just, like, focusing on this or whatever. And then he realizes, like, that he's in love with her, but he's, like, talking to Josh or whatever. And they're talking about it, and he goes, "You put hockey first for college when it comes to everything." Anna knew that all along. She'll meet someone else, someone who isn't in a long-term relationship with a sport. And Elliot says, "I don't want her to meet someone else." And then he said that he, like, was in love with her and whatever. And Josh was like, sucks to be you.
Yeah. But then they go off to college.
Yes. So they sleep together another couple times while this summer, and then they get in their big fight, which
Because
kind
he
of,
doesn't want to
like,
go
ends it.
to
Yes.
college where she's going to college.
Right.
Because she's going to college in California.
She wants to go to Stanford. That's where
And
her
he goes
dad
to
was.
Boston.
That's the plan. Yes. So that's what they fight about. Well, he realizes that he says at one point, I want all of her firsts, all her middles, and especially all her lasts. Because he just loves her. But they get in that huge fight because he starts talking about, what did he say? He said that, like, he says something and she's like, you made me fake date you, and they get in this big fight, and she says, has, like, you not being with anybody have anything to do with me, and he says, I thought you didn't want to talk. And then she gets pissed because they just slept together. So
Yeah.
she's all pissed. He's like, I didn't mean it. And she goes, I'm ready to leave. And he says, what? Just a sex toy to you? And she goes, and this, I highlighted this, and she goes, I kind of thought driving me home after I've flown all the way here for 3 summers just to see you was a reasonable request, but whatever. Someone else can take me. So they get in that big fight. He asks if she'd consider Boston. And he says, she goes, my dad went to Stanford. All he's ever wanted for me is to go there. It's been the plan forever. And he says, the same dad who only acts like one when it's convenient for you. And this was their big moment of the fight. She says, you're one to talk. At least I'm not letting him dictate my whole life. And he's like, what does that mean? She said, hockey. I'm talking about hockey and how you let it consume you. How you don't let yourself relax and you don't think about anything else, and you deprive yourself of things I think you want. And he says, I need to know if I can do it, if I'm better than him. And she says, and then what? Then what are you going to do after? And so he goes, this is just the worst time to be together. She says, like, am I just supposed to wait? And he goes, I never asked you to. And she said, you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've been doing for 3 years now. And he says, I want this, I want you. And she goes, just not enough, though.
Yeah.
So then they say some more mean things to each other. And she says, what has hockey ever given you? You spend all your time training, watching film, lifting weights, practicing. You give it all your time, but what does it give you? And he says, I love playing, the thrill, the excitement, winning. And she goes, more than you love anything else? And he doesn't answer her. And so then she just says,
so
I'm
sad.
leaving. Yeah. So it just says, I'm leaving. And then he goes, they sound different, more final than before, and it terrifies me. And then he, like, starts going into, like, crisis.
Yeah.
And is asking all of his friends, like, why do you play hockey? And I'm going to lose her. And Josh says, she knows how you feel about hockey. Does she know how you feel about her?
Oh.
And he's like, oh no, she doesn't. I don't know. Whatever. So then he starts telling other people at this party, like, oh, he's in love with Auden. So he's not going to sleep with them and whatever. Auden has to go to New York for Fashion Week with her mom. Mm-hmm. Her mom's trying to, like, she goes on this weird double date thing with her mom's boyfriend
and his son. And his son's a total doucher.
Yes, and his son is like the star of a TV show. And so pictures were posted because her mom's famous, the boyfriend's famous, the boyfriend's kid is famous. Mm-hmm. And so then he sees it, and Elliot sees it, and he ends up calling her. So anyway, so they get in this big fight. Their friendship is kind of all weird, and then they go to college. They're not really talking that much.
Yeah.
So it's like weird. I mean, they slept together, they're in love together.
She goes and watches him play at a hockey game, and that's where I get my quote.
Stanford.
Yeah.
So his school in Boston plays her school in Stanford. She wasn't going to go because she thought they were going to, like, a football game or something.
Yeah.
They end up at the hockey game where he was, and she sees him, and she doesn't want to talk to him. He shows up at her house.
Yeah, for like a second, like he makes
like right before he has
he's
to
like
leave
everybody
to go
make
back
a
to
pit
Boston.
stop because she's there with like a different guy
Yes.
that like wants
This
to
guy
date her, but
asked
she kind of doesn't really want to date him. But
because she still is like in love with
Yeah.
Elliot, but she's trying to move on.
and that's where we get the quote because, like, right, this is 212.
Yes. So
Because I'm about to get on a bus with 20 other guys who look up to me, and I really don't want to cry in front of them.
Yes, because he tells her, he says, oh, he's like, they get in another kind of a fight, and he says, like, I'm good at hockey. My dad was the best at hockey, but you know what he was bad at? Telling people how he felt or showing them what it really mattered. Like, I want to rub it in her face. And he says, but I let you in a long time ago. I'll figure out balance. And she's pissed because she's like, no, you're going to resent me if you give up hockey. Like, you will resent me, and I don't want that. You told me you would resent anybody who pulled you away from hockey.
Oh.
And he goes, I said that years ago, like I was barely a kid. And then that's what he gives. He says, just give me a chance to prove it to you, Daddy. Don't date the guy unless you want to, unless you're into him. But don't tell me that right now if you are okay. Because
I will get on the bus and cry.
And he goes, I never saw the appeal of a relationship. I saw how my parents fell apart, saw all the drama at school, and then when I was 16, I walked into a coffee shop I'd only been to twice, and I just knew. And so she says, oh, you never mentioned it. And he goes, other guys on the team have girlfriends on it. We're not striving for the impossible. And she says, do those guys stay after practice? Watch film on every single team. Do those guys score 2 goals and an assist tonight? And he says, winning is everything. And she goes, I know that. I just don't think you do. And then he goes to say something to her. And he goes, I have to leave. And she said, right, because of hockey. So then she ends up, like, texting him. And they're talking. She ends up telling the other guy she's not interested because she's in love with Elliot. And then they go, and she goes to go home with
Because this is
her
just
friend.
before Thanksgiving.
This is just before Thanksgiving. She goes home for Thanksgiving with her friend because she doesn't want to go to see her parents, or her parents are busy. So she goes home with her friend. She shows up, and this guy, her friend Lauren, his dad is there. He comes, he opens the door, and they're like, she looks at him and was like, oh my gosh, it's Elliot's dad.
Elliot's dad,
and
you guys.
Just like him.
And
just
she freaks out.
Yes.
She's like, tells her friends, I can't stay.
Yeah,
I have to go.
She tells him that, like, she has family in Canada, and then she says exactly where the city is. And he knows, so they talk about it, and he's like, how is he, and whatever. He says, Elliot's dad says, like, they're not actually my kids. Their mom became, like, a single mom when they were really young. They don't know that they're not mine. Please don't say anything.
Yeah, because their real dad, like, died.
Yeah, and so then she goes, I have to leave right now. So
yeah.
She leaves, and then she calls Elliot and goes, I just met your dad. And he wasn't expecting a phone call because things are so weird.
And he's back in Canada.
Yeah, he's in Canada, home for Thanksgiving, even though American Thanksgiving and Canadian Thanksgiving are at the same time.
Yeah, that happens in October.
Yeah, he has it off for Canadian, or for American Thanksgiving, so what?
Because he's living in America at the time.
Yeah, so then she calls him and says, I met your dad, they're talking about it, and he's trying to figure out, like, how he feels about it, whatever, and she just says, okay, and that was it, and whatever. So he doesn't feel, like, really, I think he feels, like, a little bit of relief, but he doesn't really care as much as he thought he was going to.
Yeah.
Like, about his dad. So then he's like, I don't know what to do. He talks to his mom, and then he talks to his mom about it and goes, did you know he was living in California? He has 2 other kids, and whatever. And so then his mom says, he's not, like, a bad guy, but it was complicated if you want a relationship. And he goes, no. And she said, he asks her, he goes, do you regret what happened with him? And she says, no, I really don't, and not just because it gave me you. I learned a lot of important lessons. In a twisted way, I'll always be grateful for the pain he caused. So then he decides he's going to go figure skating. I mean,
not figure skating. He goes to play hockey.
He's going to play hockey because the lake is frozen over, and that's his favorite place to go.
And Auden's cousin,
yes.
Annabelle.
So Auden flies to Canada. After she talks to Elliot, she's like, screw this, I'm going to Canada.
Yep.
So she gets on the plane, and she goes. But she just literally drove from her friend's parents' house to the airport to get on the flight. So she has no luggage. She has
no clothes. It's freezing.
Yeah, and it's so hot in California. So she's in, like, shorts and stuff.
Yeah.
And now she's in Canada, and she's freezing and whatever. And she gets to the house, her aunt's house, and her cousin is there. And she tells her cousin, like, oh, I came to see Elliot. It was a spontaneous trip. And he goes, I just got on a plane. Nobody knows. And her cousin Annabelle says, how unlike you. You must really love him. He loves you too. Because he had told a girl at a birthday party that he loved her. Mm-hmm. So Annabelle takes her to the lake, which is where Elliot is. And then she is there and she's trying to, like, talk to him and tell him. And, well, she goes to his house first, and then his sister's like, no, he's at the lake. So they go to the lake, and she ends up, like, trying to talk to him. He can't hear her, so she ends up just yelling at him.
Yeah. Well, then she runs on the ice.
Yes. And then she runs on the ice, and she starts to, like, fall, and he saves her, and, well, she goes, Elliot, are you deaf? Because he's been looking at her. And then they're talking. And she said she was going to fly home, but instead she flew there.
Yeah.
To see him. And I was like, oh, they're, like, really sweet. Whatever. So then she tells him that she should have said yes when he asked to be together.
Yeah.
He should have said yes. And he's like, well, she says, I've been in love with you for 4 years. And he says, what about the guy you were with? And she goes, you're an idiot if you think I would choose him. Anyone.
Yeah.
You. I've always been terrified that telling you how I felt, Neil, would ruin everything, but just as scared you meet someone else and fall in love with them instead. And he says, he goes, I wouldn't have it. She's like, you don't know that. He says, yes, I can, because you don't fall in love with someone when you're already in love with someone else. So then they, like, he says, I love you, and I know I've done nothing but screwed up, but it's true. And I'm sorry it took me so long to figure it out.
Yeah.
So then they're, like, in love, and it's so sweet. She ends up staying there for a little bit.
Did he propose to her on the ice or no? At the lake?
At that point.
I thought
But then he
did.
asks her to go out on a date. And then it's... so then she... In the epilogue, they're, like, living together, and he is...
Oh, that's right. Oh, the ending is so cute.
Yes. So they're living together, and he's in the NHL, and she's like, I'm making you tacos. And I'm like, I freaking love tacos. She's just making tacos, and he says, she asks if he's okay, and she goes, I'm pregnant. And he just, like, looks at her and she goes, knocked up, expecting, with child, eating for two. And she goes, I'm out of synonyms. Can you say something? And he goes, you're sure? And she's like, yes. And then yes. So she runs to the couch and she has a Ziploc bag that she put under the cushions, just full of pregnancy tests. She took 12 of them. And he goes, how did you even produce that much pee? She's like, Elliot, the test. I saved them for evidence.
For evidence?
And that's what he says.
Like a crime scene?
And he's like, I'm shocked for sure. Usually when I get back from an away series, it's just to discover you reorganized the pantry or bought new lingerie. Not that I'm going to be a dad. And she is, like, so stressed about telling him.
My computer just died before it finished exporting that, and I really hope it still saved it. I'm going to cry if it doesn't.
Not.
It's not my week.
So then he's shocked because he didn't really want to be a dad. And he says, like, we're nothing like my parents. And she says, I don't even know if you want kids. And he goes, well, we're kind of past that.
Yeah.
Right.
Too late.
And then she just starts crying. He's like, oh, this is kidding. And so then they are going to have a baby. And he is just so excited. She just found out. And she goes, I was going to wait till he came back. Like, her period was just late. But then she started crying at, like, a commercial. So she decided to take a test. And he says, and this whole time she's just been worried because he said he never wanted kids, but he wants to have kids with her. And it's so sweet. And then he, so then it ends with them deciding to get married. Well, he goes and says, you know how I said not to make any plans? And she says, yes. And he says, there's going to be a component to a question component to the evening. Don't think it has anything to do with what you told me tonight. Other people might think that, but I don't want you to. I've been planning it for months. I asked your dad weeks ago. And so the book ends with her being pregnant, and he's planning to propose to her the next night. And they finally figured all their stuff out together.
And it was so cute.
It was so cute. And I love this book. And it was a short read. I mean, they both have their stuff that they're trying to go through and solve. But, I mean, I thought it was 5 stars. You thought it was 5 stars.
5 stars. Easy.
It was so good.
And I was worried I wasn't going to like it at first because of the whole pen thing. That just threw me. I'm like, who cares about a
first
$500
sentence is
pen?
like, I'm looking at the pen.
And I'm like, okay, nobody cares about a freaking pen.
Yes.
But, yeah, 5 stars. I think it was great. I highly recommend it.
Yes.
But, yeah, I liked it.
I liked it too. It was really good. I think it was great. So, that is the end of this book. I mean, it was 5 stars. We both really liked it. I'm going to probably finish reading it again.
I think I'll probably read it again, too.
Yes.
But I got some other books I gotta read first.
True.
But that's gonna have to be the end of this because we were supposed to meet our friend like 15 minutes ago
To
and
work out.
I have to go to work like right after this for my double shift. 'Cause I'm working for Raven tonight, so
Because I got to go to a Trek activity. So, but anyways,
we'll see you guys next week.
we recommend it, so read it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Pay for that like we do.
Yes. All right. Bye.